All right, so we got everything up. Jack stands galore. I got the main ones, and then some insurance jack stands and a tire. You know how that goes. Don't recommend, but what we're doing now is step one is to make sure that you can get the top plug off. And so I hit it with PB Blaster and it's already coming loose, so you got to make sure that this comes out first, or at least you can remove it first before you proceed, because if that's stuck then and you drain this, you're screwed. So now what we have to do is I'm going to unbolt the cover and get to work on draining it and scraping off all this old RTV. Also the breather up here, I'll show in a bit. You have to really clean good around that area before you take it off. And that way no dust or dirt or anything gets inside the axle. But you don't have to buy a new one. You can just clean it out. People, that's overkill. It's just a fancy little pressure cooker topper. So you don't need to go buy a new one. Just spray some brake cleaner through it and it'll be cherry. But all right, so we're gonna start taking off our diff cover. As you can see, it's already leaking here, so that's kind of why I wanted to do this service to begin with. I don't have a pan right here yet. Fluid's not gonna come out of this until I actually start prying on it, so it's not a big deal. So there's the first one. I can shorten this. And I don't know, I'm just gonna go in a random order. All right, so got the diff cover mostly cleaned up. I'm gonna go through it with a couple shop rags and make sure all that extra gunk and all that extra shit is off. But for the most part, all the RTV's gone. There's a few little spots you gotta check over on the insides, but other than that, I think it's good. It's just bare metal, so I think we'll be good to use that. And there it is. So now that we got the diff cover cleaned, what I want to do now is scrape off all that RTV on the differential, so I don't want anything getting in, any debris getting in here. So I'm gonna cover it with a bag. And now, when I scrape, I don't have to worry about so much of that RTV getting inside the diff, because that sucks if that happens. So that should be good. It gives me nice coverage. Scraping off all that old shit. Kind of don't want, like I said, any of the debris to get in here. So even though you have a bag, you just kind of want to make sure that everything's still good with no debris getting in, because that can be a problem. That can be a serious problem. Yeah, what I'm doing too is I'm cleaning around that breather, because when I take it off, I want that area around it to be as clean as possible. So I don't want any contamination in the axle. But yeah, I'm just taking my time, making sure all that crap is off. A little bit of dirt's to be expected, but like for this valve up here, when you take off this breather valve, you want that area to be as clean as possible, because when I crack that open, I don't want any dust getting up in here. So that's what I'm kind of doing right now. And hopefully when I crack it open, no dirt goes in, because I'm going to clean this valve. People buy a new one, but you don't really need to buy a new one. You just spray some carb cleaner or brake cleaner through it. It'll be fine. With the tariffs and everything, reuse the shit you can, right? Alright, well, I'm pretty happy with how clean this came out. Alright, now that we have the area around this breather valve pretty clean, this guy here, I'm going to go ahead and open it up so we can get it cleaned up. That valve, the breather valve. So I'm gonna clean the holy hell out of this thing. There's a lot of dirt and stuff in there, so we'll get that cleaned up. I'm gonna soak it in some carb cleaner, and it should be good to go. So one thing that's really easy to overlook on this job is, if you notice on the bottom of the diff housing, it's got like a bowl. So a lot of people will pull the cover off and drain all the gear oil and then put everything back together, but you can't really do that. You have to get some shop rags or a towel or however you want to do it, and you got to get up inside and get all the stuff that pulls right here, because the idea is to get out as much of the old stuff as possible. All right, so I got most of the fluid that pulled up at the bottom, like I was saying a bit ago. I'm gonna reach in there and get that last bit, soak it up with a shop rag. Sorry for the shaky camera work, but that's what it looks like, completely drained. All right, so that was kind of the initial confusion. I didn't know that rear diff, thought it was a smaller one. So the gasket is what kind of let me know, because the 8.8 is going to have these indentions here. So there's a few other ways to check it, but anyway. So I actually ended up going with this gasket. I did have a Felpro gasket that I was going to use, but I don't know, there's just something about Felpro that they've been good on, like the thermostat for my old Ford, and I don't know, but I don't know if I trust this. So oh yeah, this one's gonna be better. So here's the Felpro and then lube locker. So this one has a metal insert, whereas the Felpro gasket's just a gasket material. So this one's definitely better. As you can see, it's got like a rubber coating, so that's gonna be a lot better. All right, so now that we have our axle breather valve cleaned out really good, I soaked it in carb cleaner, so now it looks good. So we're gonna put that back on. All right, so what we're gonna do now is get the diff cover back on. So put a bolt in the very top, because right now we're just gonna hang the diff. We're not gonna be torquing anything down or anything like that yet. So, and make sure that your gasket is aligned with the markings on the diff. Like I said, on an 8.8, it's got 2 dimples at the bottom, so you can't really screw that up unless you really try fucking hard. All right, so now that we have the diff cover torqued down and everything's good on that, now what we got to do is take off the drain plug and get ready to fill the diff back up. So we got some shavings, but nothing too scary. That's typical, so we'll clean that off. And the Amsoil should help reduce that, so we'll see. All right, so I got the fill bags just because these are easier to get up in that tight space. And then we have the slip lock friction modifier. So what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna shake it up, mix it into one of the bags. Now with this, you have to drive in a figure 8 pattern 3 times to work it into the clutches. So So now we have the car on level ground. So I'm gonna put that last half of the quart with it level. So that's how it should be done to get the correct reading. If the vehicle's jacked up, you're not gonna get a correct reading on how it's filled. So gotta get under there and get her done. All right, so we're at the end here. What I basically had to do was I lifted the car, put 2 quarts in the diff, and then I had to lower it back down at ground level and do the last half a quart while the car was level. Then I jacked it back up to fit the torque wrench under here to get the drain plug back on. I used red thread locker, and that's it. No leaking. Everything looks good right now, so I'm pretty happy. That gasket looked like it was gonna work good, and it so far so good, so I'm gonna go take it for a ride now. Cleaned everything up, that way if there's any sort of dripping or wetness, I'll know right away without any guesswork. But that was it. So again, 2013 Mustang V6 8.8. You'll notice these dimples, 8.8 rear end, 2.5 quarts of Amsoil 75w140 with the bottle of slip lock, the friction modifier. So yeah, we'll see how it runs and how it sounds, and I'll do an update then. Thanks.